Hi everyone, this is Key. Welcome to my video blog. Today we're going to be talking about the wisdom of repetition. Repetition plays a big role in your business. In fact, if you really studied your business, you'll see that your business is nothing but a series of deliberate habits, repeated habits, repetition, repetition, repetition. So I want to talk about that and give you insights on the ideas that you have. You have good ideas, you have good business ideas, but you may not be repeating them often enough for them to become really the source of excellence in your business. Let me start with this idea from Napoleon Hill, which is a quote from his book, Think and Grow Rich. Any idea or plan or purpose may be placed in the mind through repetition of thought. What he's basically saying is for an idea to really be with us, we need to kind of plant it like a seed in our mind. And through the repetition of that, when you look at it, when you read it again and again, when you confront it again and again, you are now creating something that will stay with you, a plan, a purpose, something you're going after. For me, results that you want in life are connected to what you focus on, to what you're going after. Um, so your mind is kind of an incubator. It's kind of a place where ideas have a chance to kind of marinate and become real. But you can't just plant them once and forget about them. You have to water them. And what is the water of the mind? It's repetition. Let's take, for example, the idea. Let's say you're a real estate agent and you take the idea, I will list 12 homes in 2020. By the way, whether it's 12, 15, 20, it doesn't matter. You choose that number. But let's say you want to plant this idea, this purpose in your mind called, I will list 12 homes in 2020. Well, there is a plan for you have to work on. There is a thing you need to do to get to those 12 listings in 2020. But the first thing you have to do is place it in your reality. You have to look at it. How would you do that? Well, for example, if you have your own home office, you would put a sign or some kind of thing that will remind you. Maybe you have a board. You will write on that board, 2020 goal, I will list 12 homes. Now, when you walk into the space of your work, you look at it, you confront it, you bring it into your reality. You don't want to say it to yourself, let's say in October, and then you don't look at it again because then it will fade. Your mind will be absorbed by other things. What I would do also if I were you, I would take a 3x5 card, maybe put some stickers in the back of it, and I will stick it to my car. So when I get in my car, before I start the engine, I am aware that I'm looking at this purpose, this idea, this plan that I want to achieve, and it simply says, I will list 12 homes in 2020. And if you really want it to stick with you, you may want to put a sticker in your bathroom because you know you're going to go to the bathroom and you confront it. And one of the ways to make an idea kind of resonate, kind of live with you, is to say it out loud. Now, I know if you live with other people, if you have kids running around, you may not walk into the bathroom and read to yourself, I will list 12 houses in 2020. But why not? You're affirming, you're creating the future, and in essence, you're nudging your family to be aware about what you're up to. But at least read it to yourself and focus on it. So the repetition of you confronting this purpose, this plan, this thought, this idea is going to plant the perfect seed in your mind. And what happens is there's a germination process. As you start working on it, it becomes more and more real. You will find people who are good at listings. They become your friends. You connect with them. You start going to more appointments because you're aware that you need to create appointments. It's all about planting the seeds, but repetition is how you water the seed that you plant in your mind. Let's take a second one, for example. This one comes from Muhammad Ali. He says, it's the repetition of affirmation that lead to belief. And once that belief becomes a deep conviction, things begin to happen. What he's saying is, all of us strive to have something special in our life, something that we want out of life. But sometimes we just don't say it enough. By repeating it, by being aware of it and putting it in our affirmation, by some people call them mantras, you are now focusing your mind on what you really are about, what you really want to go for. Let me give you an example of affirmations, of mantras. I'm sure you have your own, but I just want to set the stage for them. An example would be, each day I wake up with purpose and clarity. So when you wake up in the morning and before you go to bed at night, you simply say to yourself, each day I wake up with purpose and clarity. And if you do that enough, it will soon become a belief. And once it becomes a belief, now it empowers you to do other things in life. Another mantra could be possibly something like, I am mentally and emotionally resilient. That means through the day, as you're confronting your business, as things get tough, you remind yourself, I can handle it. I can take this on. This is not going to break me. I am resilient. I am mentally and emotionally resilient. So but for it to start working, you need repetition. Every morning, pick 3 or 5 affirmation that resonate with you, and every morning spend some time repeating them, reading them to yourself, and kind of emotionally connecting them with you. So eventually, that habit that you're building, that habit will start building you. Let's look at it from a different angle. This one comes from Charles Spurgeon. He says, the repetition of small efforts will accomplish more than the occasional use of great talent. Now, don't get me wrong. There are some good, talented people out there. But talent always fails in front of repeated effort. Those who keep going at something, those who don't give up, they see that they have to become good at something and they work on it and work on it. Somebody may have to take 20 tries, 30 tries to get good at it, and you may have to take 100, but you don't quit. You stick with the repetition. You repeat the small efforts. So, for example, you want to master talking to for sale by owners in the real estate industry. Well, for sale by owners can be a bit tricky because there's an inherent tension between you and what they want. So what you do, you go to a training, you learn a script. Let's say you come to my training or somebody else's training. Maybe you're a broker. They give you a script and they ask you, you know something, you want to master this script. So you repeat it to yourself. You pretend you are in front of a potential for sale by owner, and you have a conversation, and you go through all of the possible objection that can happen. And you repeat it. And then you, every day, you schedule a half hour a day in which you dedicate to focusing on calling FISBOs and interacting with them. Now, the first few times you do it, it would be probably rough. You'll be nervous. You'll be not as comfortable because the script hasn't gelled with you yet. But because you're smart, you know that repetition is your friend. You're going to be deliberate about time blocking this activity on a regular basis. And as you do it on a regular basis, you get better. As you get better, you get more yeses. As you get more yeses, you get better. And as you get better, you get more yeses. And it's that vicious, positive circle, that ability to stick with it until you crack it, that insight that you are going to crack the code, that the code is crackable. You know why? Because somebody else has done it in the past. That script didn't come from thin air. Somebody in the past used it and it worked for them. You go, well, if it worked for them, it shall work for me. But how will it work for you? It's not just the intellect of it. Don't get me wrong. The intellect of it is good. It's the repetition. You may have to repeat that script 100 times. Somebody else may have to do it 10 times. It doesn't matter. You're not competing with them. You're competing with yourself. So this is another way where you can see the right habit with the right repetition is your friend. Let's look at it from another point of view. This is from Earl Nightingale, who I really love. Hopefully you can go to YouTube and see some of his old videos. He has a deep voice and he's really good. And he says, whatever we plant in our subconscious mind and nourish it with repetition and emotion will one day become a reality. Now that's very profound. He's saying, see what you want so clearly and say it to yourself often enough, your mind would then get to work and create the plan that will help you get to wherever you're headed. In essence, he's saying that success does not have a choice. Success has to happen if by any chance you chose to take an idea that is important to you, could be real estate, it could be any other business, and affirm it and see it and then start working on it. Now remember, affirmation by itself will not get you to the end result, but when you see something clearly, your mind now gets to work on creating the plan. You will start hearing your broker or your colleagues and going, oh my God, I like that idea. I'm going to emulate what Sally is doing. She's doing well with her open houses. I'm going to do a little bit of what she does. In fact, I'm going to buy her a cup of coffee and ask her to take me with her to her next open house so I can learn from her. See, your mind is smart. It has the ability to want to find connections. But it starts with planting the seeds in your mind. And the repetition of that idea, the ability to see it, to visualize it, and to emotionally connect to it. What I like about this quote is the way Earl Nightingale said it. He said, whatever we plant in our subconscious mind and nourish with repetition and emotion. He's saying, if you're not connected to it emotionally, it may not fulfill itself. You cannot want something that is contradictory to your soul, to what you believe. Now, you may not have evidence that you're going to become a successful realtor yet. You may not have that evidence, but if you can see it, if you see others do it and go, I can see myself being like Sally, who's a great realtor. If you start seeing it and affirming it, your mind will start working for you. Your mind will start aligning itself. But it requires repetition. It's all about repetition of habits. Let me end with this one, which most of you have heard. This quote is usually, given to or said that it was spoken to by Aristotle. Actually, Aristotle didn't say it. It was said by Will Durant. Will Durant was writing about the ideas of Aristotle, and then he took what he said and quoted it better. And he said, we are what we repeatedly do. Excellence then is not an act, but a habit. So if you want to become good at basketball and you're not throwing the ball often enough, you're not going to get good at it. You'll say, well, I'm naturally talented. I don't need to learn how to shoot the basketball. I already know how to do it. But see, that's the flaw. See, every athlete who is worth their soul, you will see them have routines, repetitive routines where they work at their craft. They do the basic stuff, free throw shooting or swimming, There are athletes who will go before they even go on their to work with their coach. They have their own routine on swimming 50 laps before they go to the gym or before they meet with their coach or before they do anything. They build a routine so that they don't have to think about it. Every athlete you speak to will tell you we rehearse the scenarios so that when we are playing in the game, they come naturally. Repetition is your friend. So let's take it back to real estate. And let's say you want to become good, let's say at door knocking. Well, don't do two or three doors and be done with it and say, well, it doesn't work. You have not done enough repetition. You got to have the script. You have to practice the script with a friend so you get comfortable with it. And then you have to repeat it, repeat it, repeat it. And repetition always creates results. If you're doubting it, it's probably because you're doubting your career. I want you to put that aside. I want you to trust the process. The process of repetition creates results. I hope I shed some light on this concept of habits and repetition. I hope to see you in one of my classes one day. Have a good day. Take care.